In this video, I'm going to show you 15 insane use cases for the new Claude 3.5 Sonnet model that was just released. Now, when this thing came out, I was like, oh great, another Claude model. This probably isn't going to be very good. But after I tested it, I quickly found out that this is much better than GPT-4o or any model that I've used in the past. And the crazy thing to think about is this is the worst that this model is going to get. It only improves from here. Now, we're going to be doing things in this video like creating web applications, interactive dashboards from a PDF. I'm going to show you how I created a real-time object detection program, all from Claude. All of this I did with Claude, and I have no coding experience. All I am is a YouTuber who has a little bit of experience with website design. Now, we're going to get into those 15 use cases, but first I wanted to show you this because I know if you're here right now, you're definitely an AI enthusiast. You like staying on top of artificial intelligence. So this group is the perfect thing for you. I'm going to leave this group in the description or the top pinned comment below. And what this group is a community for this channel, AI Foundations. And we're in here all day talking about artificial intelligence. Not only that, but we have a classroom filled with multiple different AI educational courses. And in the calendar tab, you can see all of our live calls that we have coming up. You know, Carter and I like going live with the group, and the live calls have been amazing so far. A lot of interaction and a lot of unique insight found on artificial intelligence. So if that's something that interests you, if you love talking about AI and want to stay in the know and up to date and learn all the powerful techniques, then this is the place to be. Again, it's in the description below or the top pinned comment. Now let's get into the awesome use cases that Claude 3.5 Sonnet has to offer. The first use case is to create an interactive dashboard when using a PDF. So let's say I'm reading this white paper on a large language model prompting technique called Reflexion. Now this is kind of a complex topic, but it goes into a verbal reinforcement technique in order to help large language models have better responses. Let's say I read this and now I want to have a fun way of interacting with that information. I can upload that PDF by hitting add content, and then I can type in a quick prompt. I said create an interactive PDF dashboard to help me view, test, and learn this information in a more visually appealing way. Then I said make it dark mode, of course. I'm going to send that off and make sure that you have the artifacts feature enabled, because what this is going to do is it's going to open up a dual screen view where it's showing you the code that it's generating for your PDF dashboard. And not only that, but after it generates the code, we're going to be able to preview and use this dashboard live. And we might get an error. Sometimes it starts off with an error, but it's very easy to fix. You just paste the error into Claude and it'll fix it for you. But as you can see, nothing went wrong here. As we can see, we have this amazing dashboard that was just created based on the PDF that I uploaded and that I was just showing you. We have different tabs for decision making. We have icons in here. I mean, this is just beautiful. Reasoning, 20% improvement over baseline. It really helps you see this in a more visual way. I can go to programming, and what I can even do is I can add things to this as we go. I said add a tab for graphs showing the examples, and also a test tab where I can test my knowledge with a 10-question quiz. I can send it off, and it's going to keep the same structure, but just add on to the code that I already have. Not that I already have, but that it already made me. As you can see, we have two more tabs, and the graphs tab isn't currently displaying a graph, so we could just reiterate that. But we now have a quiz tab that has 10 questions that we can go through and answer. Use case number 2 is to use animations and create animations to visualize anything. I got pretty unique with this one. I said create a visualization showing me how cells work in a human body in order to heal a wound, from getting injured to the wounds being healed. What it created me was this wound healing process image, but what I wanted was an animation. This was great though. I mean, for 10 seconds, just typing out a quick prompt, having this be generated, this is very, very cool. It shows the injury, the inflammation of the injury, the proliferation, and then the remodeling, which is very cool. You can kind of see how that might go from a cut to inflamed to healing to remodeling. Now this was pretty good. I liked how it showed the whole process and did it quickly, but I wanted it moving. So I asked it, can you make this a visualization with cells actually moving around? And this is what it created me next. An actual visualization of cells moving around within this little box, and it changed each part for me. So it went from injury to inflammation, and as you can see, the cells are moving a little bit faster to proliferation, and then finally to the remodeling stage. But this still is not what I was after, right? I wanted a couple more things done. So that's when I just ask. All you have to do is ask. Now, eventually, I ended up just prompting with Claude and getting this visualization and this animation to look something like this, so that it looks like somebody's actually getting cut right here. And so this would be the arm process getting hurt. And then we zoom in on that cut. I had it do all this just by prompting as I showed you. And now I have actually inside the cut the entire process with a progress bar and more of a time-lapse formation, which is just amazing. It even has some key points down here in terms, and then it zooms back out and loops the animation. Use case number 3 is to make visual diagrams and illustrations and animations based on static images. Let's say I'm reading this white paper on large language models, and I want to see this in a different visual way. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to screenshot this. Then I'm going to hit add content and then just upload that screenshot of this neural network flow. And I'm just going to say, stimulate the movement of information through this neural network image using moving elements and React. I can send that off. And based on the static image, it's going to create code in order to stimulate the movement of information through this static image, which is very cool. It's going to create its own little environment. It's going to use all the code, show us a preview, and it's going to show us how information is actually moving in the static image so that we can see it in a more visual way. As you can see, it says unsupported libraries. If it ever does that, just copy in your error code, copy the entire message, and paste it in, and it will fix it for you. And as you can see, it creates a mock of the image and actually has moving elements for how information is passing through this. But as you can see, I don't have any input values in here and nothing's labeled properly. So I'll say add input values, make sure information is moving correctly, and make it bigger. Just simple English, right? Just simple natural language to this large language model. As you can see, everything's labeled now. And we actually have different lines that it's moving through. As you can see, it's moving through all these hidden layers based on inputs, and this is just amazing to watch. And it's cool that it can do all this in a matter of seconds. And you could keep on going with this. I mean, you could go as in-depth as you want. You could make it look however you want. You could add in multiple different inputs. You could really go through this and make it your own. Use case number 4 is to create web applications using Claude 3.5 Sonnet. Now this one's fun. I created a whole states of matter diagram showing how the states of matter react when under certain conditions. Let me show you how I did that. As you can see, I literally built this thing with a couple of prompts in Claude. Now this is just amazing. I'll show you the prompts I used in order to do this, but here's the idea of it. I select a particle type, let's say neon, and then I add my quantity. Let's say I want 100 of those particles in here. I can hit add, and it adds it to the simulation box of the neon particles moving around. And these things are dynamic, so when I update temperature, they start moving faster. If I update pressure, they go through this pressure line. And if there's too much pressure, too many particles, and the temperature is too high, then it will explode because the pressure is so much that it just blows the lid off of this simulation, and then all the atoms go scattered. We have a dynamic information panel updating with how many particles are within the simulation. This thing just gets pretty wild. So if I increase pressure once again and temperature, there they all go. Seems like it'd be like very hard to code, and it would be if you were doing it on your own. Because if I go to the code, I mean, there are 224 lines of code. So yeah, that would take a long time. And I just did it in a couple minutes, just prompting and asking Claude some questions. And whenever there's an application error, all I do is upload it and it fixes it right away. And I ask basic questions like this. When I add particles, I don't see them moving. Nothing is there. I want them moving around. And then it does that for me. And I just keep on going through perfecting this until I get it exactly how I want it. And you end up with a final product like this. I mean, this is just amazing where you can create these little apps. There's an SEO tool that I'm going to create a little later in this video that I wanted to show you, because that's an example of how you could use it for business. Use case number 5 is to quickly create games, whether that be existing games or unique games that you come up with or that you strategize with and create with Claude. Let me show you some examples of not only how to create a basic game, but also examples from how some people on X used it to create more advanced games. Yes, we can do the classic example of create the game Snake using React and make it functional. You could even do this with Python using VS Code. I'm going to send this off, and it's creating the Snake game in React for us just like this, and we'll be able to play it within Claude, which is very interesting. So now we have the Snake game in React, but as you can see, our arrows aren't working. So you can just ask Claude and it will edit it for you. I just said make it so my arrows move the snake. And now as you can see, my arrows are actually moving the snake after making that quick adjustment. My snake goes through the walls. If it hits itself, then the game is over. Now that's a basic game. I've seen people even make Tetris with this, which is quite amazing, but this is one X post that I saw and came across that I was just amazed by, created by this user. He says, I just recreated a basic 3D Doom game using Claude 3.5 Sonnet with artifacts and just 3 prompts. This game is procedurally generated maps, sound effects, zombies that come after you, and a mini-map. To do something like this took me 2 days with GPT-4 when it first came out. And if you watch this, it's just amazing. It even has sound effects as well. But he's doing all of this while in Claude in the preview section. He has a map. He can stop these things from coming at him by hitting his mouse button. And he did this with 3 prompts. He created a game like this. That is just amazing. So congratulations to this guy, and just to show us what you could do in the video game industry with something like Claude 3.5 Sonnet. Use case number 6 is to create 8-bit or 16-bit styled images. So I could say something like create an 8-bit style image of Pac-Man. When I send that off, Claude ended up giving us this funny 8-bit styled Pac-Man with him over here on the right eating these white pellets on the left. Next, I asked it to do a Mario photo on a white background, and then it gave me this 8-bit styled Mario SVG, which is very cool. And you can even see the code that it did in order to do this. Then I thought, you know what, let's do a 16-bit styled Mario instead, which gives him a little bit more detail here. You can see the code, it gets a little bit more complex to generate this SVG. And then I did the 128-bit Mario high-resolution vector SVG, and there was a lot more code to this, and Mario turned out looking very interesting. I'm not sure if this is even Mario at all. It kind of scared me, but I do like the 16-bit and the 8-bit styled images a lot, so I recommend you give that a shot. The next use case for this new Claude update is to generate 3D simulations or visualizations. Now for this one, I just want to take you back over to X because I think there's some users there who have done some amazing things with actually generating 3D objects in a single conversation. So let's go take a look at some of those posts. This gentleman right here ended up making a 3D solar system with physics and collision. So if I open this up, as you can see, he can hit add a random planet and it adds planets. Certain planets collide. It's very cool and I love how all of this works. Dan here actually created this 3D cube animation with balls bouncing around inside the cube using Claude's new artifact feature. He said this took him only 30 minutes to do with all of these functions added. But that's a very cool example of showing how he did that 3D bouncing ball simulation. Here's another animation created by Max Zybel, and it's another particle cube animation with a bunch of different factors that they have the ability to edit, which is very neat, and this is just amazing at what Claude is capable of doing now. And here's another example of somebody creating a 3D game in Claude. I mean, this just looks amazing, and I guess you could put this in the 3D simulations category. This is created by Coffee Vectors. It said it took them 90 minutes. It's crazy how it can incorporate sound effects, 3D elements, and so much more. The next use case in Claude is to actually compare data. Now, with this new artifacts update, I found that the data analysis side of Claude is much more powerful. Here's an example. So if I just upload a data set, I'll just upload my sub-based platform data set. This is a very, very basic Google Sheet showing month revenue for that month and social media posts for the month. And first, what I can do is I can just say convert this CSV into JSON, and then it's going to give me that JSON representation of the data just like this. And this is going to allow us to actually create an interactive chart using something from the JavaScript library. Next, what I'm going to do is say create an interactive dual axis line graph of these two data points, revenue and social media posts, with the x-axis being the month. Use a plotly.js chart so we can hover over these elements on the chart so it is interactive. And then I can send it off, and because we have this JSON, it will be able to create this interactive dual axis line graph much easier. I've tried this by just using the CSV file, and it definitely doesn't work out as much. So if you do want to do some data analysis in Claude 3.5 Sonnet, highly recommend you convert it to JSON before you start doing this. And this actually looks very similar to ChatGPT, except they do have their minor differences. I like how we get some image settings up here where we can download the plot as a PNG, and we can take a snapshot of the plot. We can zoom out, we can zoom in. I think this is pretty cool. The next use case for Claude 3.5 that I think it's amazing at is creating system architectures. Let me show you how that might work for something like an SEO tool. So I typed out a quick prompt. I just said create a system architecture for an SEO web application that allows users to upload blog posts, get keyword recommendations, feedback score, and a ranking criteria, right? I just want that flow chart, that system architecture for this web application. That way we can see it and Claude can see it better if we actually go through and build it with Claude, if it's possible. Now I'm going to send this one off. And as you can see, it's going to get coding and it's going to use Mermaid in order to create the system architecture, which is very, very cool. I really like how it breaks it into the databases down here on the left. We have a user database, blog post database, and a keyword database, external services, and SEO ranking API, back-end, client, front-end. So if you're trying to do automations or you're trying to build applications, this is going to be huge by building out these system architectures in Claude. It does it so quick, it's interactive, and it's a lot better than doing it in something like ChatGPT right now. Use case number 10 is actually to use Claude 3.5 for SEO. Now we just got that mock system architecture created for a web application for SEO, but now I actually want to show you how you can build a mini web application in Claude 3.5, use it in the preview section in order to create basically an SEO tool that will allow you to upload your blog post, get keyword suggestions, and more. So I'm going to start a new chat in Claude, and I can just paste in this prompt that I used earlier. What I have here is create an SEO tool that allows me to upload my blog post, industry, and what keywords I'm trying to rank for. Then I say after I upload all that stuff, I want to be able to hit a button that gives suggestions on what to change. Include a reset button that starts the process over, and also add a plus button to keywords so I can add multiple different keywords I'm trying to rank for. In the SEO suggestions area, after analyzing the SEO, give me specific numbers and stats for my blog post, as well as caution signs to show what needs attention. I can send this off, and within seconds it gets generating the code, and this is just amazing, not only for blogs, as I've been saying, but for anything you need a tool for. And take a look at this. We now have an SEO analysis tool, and keep in mind, we can edit the styling, but right now, this is pretty good for about 15 seconds of generating something. I'm gonna go to ChatGPT and grab this blog post that I have on artificial intelligence taking over the world. I'm going to paste it in here in Claude, and now that I have this blog post in here, what I can do is I can actually just use this tool within Claude. I don't even have to upload this to some website or make an app out of it. I can just test it out in here. What industry? I can just say technology, and then I can type in some keywords here. So maybe I want to rank for the keyword AI, maybe I want to rank for artificial intelligence, and then maybe I want to rank for something like large language models, something that might not be as prevalent in this post in specific. And then I can just hit analyze SEO. Then it says word count 800. It gives me an analysis result. Keyword density 5.88%, artificial intelligence 0.25%, large language models 0%. So if I'm trying to rank for large language models, I haven't even put anything regarding large language models within here. So this is very cool. I can hit my reset button. This was built with one prompt in about 15 seconds. This is amazing. This is crazy. I haven't even added anything. As you can see, I added one extra prompt. I said change the styling, change the name, and then I told it to add a revised blog post section after I upload my initial blog post. And as you can see, it has the new name, the new styling, the SEO Maestro with the wizard. And this is starting to look like my own little app. I can paste in the text. Right now the text's yellow, but I can make that whatever I want whenever. I can type in my industry, technology, type in my keywords again. And then when I hit Analyze SEO, what it does is it actually gives me a revised blog post suggestion, changes around the blog post a little bit, says here's why I made these changes. It added LLMs to the beginning, added large language models to the beginning. It added some things that I was lacking within my analysis result. And again, I could change the styling, but for 2 prompts in a matter of a couple minutes, this is awesome. This next use case I want to show you is how I built a real-time object detection system using Claude, and I'm actually going to run it in my browser and show you how this works firsthand. I'm just going to come back to Claude and actually paste in this prompt that I used earlier. But what we have right now is create a single HTML file for a real-time object detection web application using TensorFlow.js and this model. I'm not sure if those are zeros or O's, the Coco SSD model. This application should, and then I just have a bunch of parameters for what this thing should do in order to detect objects on my screen. Then I tell it to provide the complete runnable HTML file with inline CSS and JavaScript. Make sure I'm in Sonnet 3.5, send it off. And this is just amazing what this can do and how it can actually generate this for me. An object detection web application. It's hard for me to even say that, but it can generate this for me. And I'm going to show you how it works and actually detects objects and what they are real time using this library. It says error over here, but watch this. As soon as I hit this little download button in the bottom right hand corner, and then I actually open up this file up top, what this is going to do is pull me to this screen. And then it's going to ask me if this file is okay to use my camera. I can just hit allow this time. And since I'm actually using the video to record, it can't access the camera, but I'll upload some footage of what that looks like. And as you can probably see, it completely messed up my camera right now, so this is great. As you can see, it's detecting objects right now, and it's detecting a person. And when it detects an object, it labels it here. This entire thing was built with Claude. Remember, I downloaded it. Let me hold up something to my camera like a cup and see how it does. Look for the detected objects down here underneath my face. When I hold up a cup, see if it gets it. Cup, it thought it was a cell phone at first, but then it ended up, no, actually it thought it was a cup, and then it ended up going to a cell phone. So this is very interesting. Let me hold up a water bottle. Bottle detected. Isn't that just insane how it can detect objects? Let me try holding up something else. Maybe I'll try holding up my laptop and see what it says. Can it detect what a laptop is? Laptop first detected. So this entire thing was actually built using Claude. The download file I just got was built and sent from Claude in about 15 seconds using TensorFlow and some other things. So I'm already starting to build up my Tony Stark lab, right? This next use case really demonstrates Claude's new advanced reasoning. I want to curate a card counting game so that I can practice counting cards, let's just say, and I just want to see if Claude can do this. I actually know it can do this because I've done it previously in Claude 3.5 Sonnet, and it's just amazing how much advanced reasoning goes into this, because you have to think about all the different cards in the deck. It has to remember which cards it showed me and which cards did not show me again. It has to know the card counting system and implement this all into one application that I can use. Similar to a game, but I think card counting has a lot of advanced reasoning, especially when you start dealing with decks of cards. Things can get very complex, so that's why I wanted to show this one to you. So this one took a couple more prompts, but what I told it to do was make a card counting game. The card should show the correct number in suit, show the user a random number of cards, ask what count the deck is. The count should always start at 0. If the player types in the right count, say good job. If wrong, tell them the actual deck count and restart the entire deck. And this thing kind of evolved over time. This is what it started as, right? And it kind of looks okay, and it just told me to enter the count right away. But I wanted it to run through some cards before I got asked the count of the deck. Now, if you're unfamiliar with card counting, it's something that people do in casinos. Well, I'm not sure if they're supposed to do it, but you can basically predict what's coming next in the deck, whether it's a low card or a high card, based on adding up a certain number within your head from the cards that are shown to you, whether it's +1, 0, or -1. And so I said, I want users to only submit a guess after you've showed them the cards. And I wanted it to show 5 or 10 cards before we got to submit a guess. And then this is what it came up with. Something which is pretty cool. So now it's counting down, but it's only showing the same card, right? It has this little timer that I asked it to create at a 3-second pace, but now it's just showing one card and not changing. So after multiple times of reiterating that I want to show different cards rather than the same card, it ended up coming up with this. So now it's actually changing cards, right? This is pretty advanced. It has a timer, it's changing cards. It's not showing the same cards in the deck, which I think is very cool. And it's randomizing it. It's a different one every single time. So if I restart, now it's at 9. If I refresh, it's at 6 of diamonds. So it's starting with a new card every time and it's randomizing it. And so this was pretty good. And after just styling it a little bit more, I ended up coming out with this final result. This took me about 20 minutes to create, the casino card counter. I can change my speed that I want. So maybe I want the cards coming in every 4 seconds. When I hit start game, I can now do this, right? I can now practice my card counting, and it goes on my 4-second timer in this fun styling. And then I can just make a guess after 5 to 10 cards are shown. And I'm going to show you what that screen looks like in a second. Now, I haven't been counting while doing this, so I'm not sure what the count is right now, but I'll just make a little bit of a guess. I have no idea. I'm just going to put -1 and submit guess. The count was 1. Okay, so that's kind of cool that I can practice like that. So I can hit continue and then just keep going through the entire deck. I just wanted to show you that example in specific to show you the power and the advanced reasoning of Claude 3.5 Sonnet. The next use case with Claude 3.5 Sonnet is to create mind maps with it. Now, ChatGPT used to be better at this in my opinion, using some GPTs, but after being in Claude, I realized how much better Claude actually is at this currently. I'm not sure when GPT-4o is going to come out completely. When it does, we'll see how it compares up against this, but right now mind maps in Claude are a little bit more visually appealing. I feel like I can edit it more, and I have a little bit more fun generating them. So what I said in my Claude prompt bar was create a mind map brainstorming content ideas for the artificial intelligence niche on YouTube. I can send it off. And similar to the system architecture, it generates this huge mind map, and it just looks awesome. I can even edit this if I'd like, but we have AI YouTube content, and it breaks it up into more categories: tutorials, explainers, interviews, news and updates, case studies, debates and discussions, and then it goes into even more categories. And you can use generated knowledge and then put the generated knowledge into here as well. You don't just have to get the knowledge generated in this chat thread. You could have something else generated from another chat thread, throw it in here. You could have a Google Sheet with your ideas, throw it in here, and then get your visual like this. Claude 3.5 use case number 14, the second to last use case, is to use it for deep learning and further research. Now, you can do so many research things, like create research papers with this, with interactive graphs, categories, sections, headings, subheadings, so many different things. You can go crazy on the deep learning aspect side of this, similar to the interactive dashboard I showed you in the beginning of this video. But let me show you an example of how you might be able to create a research paper using Claude 3.5. It just is amazing how it does this. Maybe I'm reading this paper, 25-page PDF on multimodal chain of thought reasoning in large language models, or in just large models, pretty hefty. And let's say I want to create a research paper based around that. I'm going to download this behind my head, and then I'm going to hit save. And then I'm going to head over to Claude, start a new chat, and then I'm just going to drag that PDF in here. And I'm just going to say, create a research poster / paper on this PDF. Use unique visuals and a more complex way of viewing this data. Then I said make this dark mode with yellow and blue accents, create a section of this poster for actionable steps to take. And remember, this is all based off that PDF that's 1,500 lines, right? This entire PDF, it's taking all this information, it's reading that PDF and creating a research paper / poster for me. So this is going to help me when it comes to actually viewing this data in a better way. Maybe if I find a template that I can use, then we can use tip number 15, which is about to come up, in order to do this for every PDF we get. Take a look at how this did. I think this is just amazing how it breaks the PDF into this fun interactive poster. As you can see, we were missing an image right here. It just says placeholder, but let's say you want this to be a little more interactive. You can try something like make this an interactive poster and see what it does, if it does anything at all. It says it's going to add expandable sections and dynamic data visualization and clickable elements. So I think making this poster not only a poster with complex viewing compared to the PDF, but also turning it into an interactive poster, it's going to be powerful. So look at this. We now have drop downs. So we can hit these drop downs and kind of go through everything that we want. And of course, the spacing isn't all that good, but I think this is pretty sweet how it has interactive graphs and performance comparison for the multimodal chain of thought prompting. Then we have even more things that we can kind of click in here and just edit and manipulate. Actionable steps. That's awesome. So this is another way to use Claude Sonnet 3.5 is by using it for deep learning, research, and just furthering your knowledge retention by creating more fun things like this from long, drawn-out, boring PDFs. Tip number 15 is going to be an important one, especially if you stuck it out through this entire video, because I know that a lot of you are going to create things that you want, right? You're going to create things that you want to recreate and show people. So I'm going to show you the best way to create a prompt template for your specific project, right? Because after I get done creating the project, this is what I'm doing now. This is how I got this video done in a fairly decent amount of time, is because I had a lot of these prompt templates that you've been seeing me use throughout the video. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. Let's take a look at that example that I just did by making this research paper. And let's say that I want to be able to do this, well, once I complete it, right, and once I get it exactly how I want it, let's say that I want to be able to do this for every PDF I have. I could reply to Claude within the same chat thread and say, give me a prompt I could use that would generate this type of interactive poster every single time in Claude. How would I ask you for this after uploading my PDF? I can send it off. And then what it's going to do is give me a prompt. It says you could use a prompt like this. And then in the quotes, it gives me a beautiful prompt that I could use in order to generate something like this every time. And you can just use it whenever you have a new PDF. So creating these prompt templates for your projects in Claude is going to save you a lot of time. It's going to help your message limit stay down so you don't end up buying 2 accounts like me. All right, that's all that I have for this Claude 3.5 update. Again, if you want to join a community of AI enthusiasts who are doing stuff like this all day, finding AI news, hopping on live calls together, you even get this classroom section where you're learning about large language models. There's tons of different modules in here on every sector of artificial intelligence. We even have automation systems that go very, very in depth on how to automate your business. And we really are just staying on top of AI in here. People are in here all day talking, we're making friends, connections, networking. So again, if you want to join this community, I'll leave a link in the description or the top pinned comment. But with that being said, that's the Claude 3.5 Sonnet update. I hope you enjoyed this. If you enjoy this type of content, please like and subscribe for more. I'm going to be staying on top of this, mainly in the community, but also here on YouTube. All right, with that being said, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video.